SEFTV does not begin with a person who wants to be famous. It begins with a place that seems difficult to reach, difficult to explain, or easy for the rest of the country to forget. An island close to Malaysia, a town close to Taiwan, a mountain described as golden, a road called dangerous, a village where crocodiles are part of the landscape. The channel keeps returning to the same promise. Somewhere beyond the route most people take, there is a story waiting to be uncovered. That promise is the channel's real subject. The islands, mountains, bridges, roads, and coastlines matter, but they also function as evidence for a larger idea. SEFTV has built a recognizable way of seeing the Philippines by turning distance into suspense. The farther the camera travels, the more valuable the discovery feels. Remoteness is no longer just geography. It becomes a plot. Look at the language of the official uploads. Visiting the Philippines' crowded island, close to Malaysia. The most terrifying stairway in the Philippines. This part of the sea is boiling and it's unstoppable. I visited the Philippines' closest town to space. These are not neutral labels, they are miniature trailers. Each title gives a location a dramatic role. The closest, the farthest, the most dangerous, the most terrifying, the one that suddenly rose from the sea. Before the video begins, the place has already been turned into a question. This is why the channel feels closer to a documentary series than to a casual travel vlog. A casual vlog can be built around the creator's personality, what they ate, who they met, what went wrong. SEFTV is more restrained. The host is present, but the host is not always the destination. The camera keeps handing attention back to the landscape and to the people who live inside the premise of the title. The creator becomes a guide through a mystery rather than the mystery itself. That restraint makes the videos easy to enter. A viewer does not need to know the host's private life to understand the invitation. Someone is going somewhere most people have not seen. The route will be difficult. The place will challenge the audience's assumptions. The payoff will be an image that makes the trip feel justified. Houses above the water, a bridge suspended over a valley, a road folding through a mountain, or an island that seems to sit outside the normal map. But the channel's power is not only in its destinations, it is in the editing grammar that connects them. A boat leaves shore, the horizon opens. The camera approaches a settlement, a resident explains the local reality. The host reacts. A wide shot places the human figure inside a much larger environment. These repeated beats make distance feel physical. Even when viewers cannot measure the route, they can feel the effort of crossing it. The result is a geography made for the screen. A map is an abstraction of lines, names, borders, and scale. SEFTV replaces that abstraction with movement. The road shakes, the boat rocks, the water changes color. The camera rises over a ridge and discovers another settlement. Geography becomes duration, not only where a place is, but how long it takes to arrive and what the arrival costs. This is also where the channel's sense of wonder becomes complicated. A title such as "These People Chose to Live on the Water Rather Than Land" creates immediate curiosity, but it frames an entire community as an unusual choice. The life becomes a puzzle for outsiders. The same tension appears in titles about crowded islands, remote villages, and houses surrounded by crocodiles. The audience is invited to look, but the community can become a spectacle before its own explanation has been heard. SEFTV often tries to correct that imbalance by letting residents speak. The camera does not only show a strange environment, it asks how people work, travel, build, and adapt there. That matters because images alone can make distance look like a fantasy, A floating house can be beautiful on screen, but the person who lives there knows the negotiations hidden inside the picture. Weather, income, safety, school, transport, and the price of being far away. When the videos slow down enough to include those voices, the remote location stops being a backdrop and becomes a home. The channel is strongest when visual surprise leads to a question about systems. A bridge is not only a dramatic structure, it changes who can move through a place. A road is not only a dangerous climb, it determines which goods, services, and opportunities can arrive. A house on the sea is not only an exotic image, it is a response to history, livelihood, and environment. The camera becomes more responsible when it moves from "can you believe this exists" to "what makes this way of living necessary?" That shift changes the role of the viewer. At first, the viewer occupies the position of the tourist who has discovered something hidden. The title encourages that feeling, but the longer the video stays with the people who live there, the more unstable that position becomes. The place was never hidden from the community. It was only hidden from the audience's routine. The channel's apparent discovery is therefore a meeting between local knowledge that has always been present and outside attention that has just arrived. This is SEFTV's central contradiction. It makes the unseen visible, but visibility can flatten what it reveals. Remote can sound like empty. Dangerous can sound like lawless. Unbelievable can turn ordinary survival into a trick. The dramatic words create the click, but the footage has to work against their limits. A place is more than its superlative. A community is more than the condition that makes it photogenic. The best episodes understand this. Their most memorable images are not always the biggest ones. Sometimes the detail is quieter. A hand guiding a boat, a family preparing food, a resident explaining the route, a child moving through a house above the water, or a worker describing a landscape that outsiders call dangerous. These moments turn the video away from spectacle and toward recognition. The audience is no longer watching a strange world. It is watching people make a world function. SEFTV's visual style depends on a balance between scale and accountability. Wide shots promise wonder. Close shots provide context. A drone view can show the pattern of a settlement, but a face can show what the pattern means. A mountain can look majestic from above, but the sound of someone climbing it reminds us that the mountain is also labor. Without the wide shot, the journey loses its sense of discovery. Without the close shot, discovery becomes consumption. Every episode also carries an argument about the Philippine map. The country is often imagined through a few familiar centers, but SEFTV keeps moving the frame outward. Its archive presents coastlines, interiors, border zones, islands, roads, and settlements that rarely appear in the same conversation. The journey is not only from the city to the province, it is from a narrow idea of the country to a more difficult one. Distance also raises a question about development. A road can be a lifeline and a danger at the same time. A bridge can open access while changing a local rhythm. Tourism can bring income and transform what visitors expect to see. A community can become more visible without becoming more secure. The format works online because it gives the viewer a clear contract. The title names an extreme condition. The opening images confirm that the condition is real. The journey promises an explanation. A face, a dramatic landscape, and a short phrase turn a complex location into one emotional signal: danger, isolation, wonder, or disbelief. This is platform documentary's visual language, and SEFTV uses it consistently. The packaging teaches us how to read the footage before the footage has spoken. We arrive expecting an extreme, and the edit must decide whether to confirm that expectation or complicate it. A sensational opening can be followed by a quiet interview, an observational sequence, or a detail that makes the title feel incomplete. Those choices determine whether the video is merely a tour of the extraordinary or a conversation with people whose lives happen to be extraordinary to outsiders. That is why SEFTV is worth examining as like a media project, not just as a travel channel. Its episodes show how the internet packages discovery. The formula is familiar: an extreme location, a difficult route, a dramatic question, and a reveal. But the formula also exposes a cultural desire. Viewers want to believe that the country still contains places outside the map, places that can restore a sense of wonder. At the same time, they want those places delivered through a clean narrative that can be watched from home. SEFTV lives inside that tension. It turns remoteness into a hook, then asks the footage to prove that the place is more than a hook. It uses spectacle to open the door, then relies on human detail to keep the door open. Its achievement is not simply finding the farthest island or the most dangerous road. At its best, it reminds us that distance does not reduce a place's complexity. It only reduces the number of people who have been asked to pay attention. The final image of an SFTV journey is rarely an ending. It is an invitation to look beyond the obvious center. Hidden often means overlooked, and wonder often means a life that has not yet been seen on its own terms. The camera can begin with a mystery, but it should leave us with a responsibility to remember that every remarkable landscape is also somebody's ordinary world. The most honest discovery is not finding a place no one knows. It is learning to see the people who were there all along.